paper magic will survive like the heat death of the universe and will...
Oh, it's a smuggler's copter. Would you like to crew this? And then it crashes because they don't understand arithmetic.
All your cards belong to me.
2 minutes into macing him in the eyeballs, I switched to pepper spray. He's like, it's downright refreshing. And went back to the mace.
Magic is dying. I'm done. Selling everything.
I might be a hoarder. And yes,
I don't have the crayons or glue to explain this to you right now.
What, are you gonna die twice?
Oil will be worthless before magic cards will.
well, okay, Dr. Man.
That's Mr. Dr. Professor Jason.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Brainstorm Brewery. I'm Corbin Hostler, joined as always by my co-hosts DJ and Cass. Welcome into the show. Jason is out of town this week, so we have brought on a fourth person for the cast. No fear. It is the one, the only, the Tannon Grace, also known as the Cornhole Champion of the Magic Pro Tour.
I was wondering where you were going with that. I was like very confused, but
Oh, of course. No, one half, of course, of the winning
sure.
Reigning champion Pro Tour Cornhole team.
We took on all challengers and all were defeated. So I think that makes us the champions of the world. Yeah.
It does.
So you could say that I finally did actually win something in my life. There we go.
I mean, yeah, well, look, here's the thing. At the there was a party, I don't know, some number of Pro Tours ago where I thought that I was pretty good at ping pong, right? Like I played a fair amount of ping pong college, but some of these judges were from countries where it was like the national pastime. And it just wasn't, I didn't even get to the table with them. Like I knew better. I watched them play and they had like, it was insane. They had like 20 judges around them doing like mosh pits for each side. Like it was wild. And I understood that I was a small timer in that moment. So look, when the Cornhole Championship came along, I have to savor it because sometimes you just get showed up by the rest of the world, but not with the dad games.
And sometimes you peak in high school.
Look, to be fair, it's you make me actually remember going to the Pro Tour in like the into mid 2000s where we had the it was called like the Players Lounge.
Yeah.
And so it was just an area that was set aside for the players. There was like sometimes there was like a buffet in there, like food. I remember for a while we had an internet phone in there because back then like your phone wouldn't even work overseas or whatever, so you could call home and stuff. And they would always have some kind of like recreational thing going on in there. Like there was ping pong. I remember one time they had like a putting green. Ooh. And I used to be a competitive golfer. And so let's put it this way. If you put ping pong tables, putting greens, or anything like that around Magic players, we're going to start betting on it. Like that's what's going to happen. So I started taking on all comers on the putting thing. And I was like, I'll play right or left-handed. Like, I don't care. And I was just like smoking everyone. But I miss that stuff. Like the camaraderie that built within the player group and stuff. It's starting to come back a little bit at the MagicCons that the Pro Tours are at now. And I love seeing that because it makes me think of, my heyday, 20 years ago. God,
it's the Grand Prix circuit missing that a lot of people I've talked to are feeling. And it's interesting. It's one of those things you don't necessarily think about until you're gone. But a lot of the connections for teams that would later go on to win Pro Tours and things like that would happen in the sort of week-to-week grind of the GPs. The Pro Tour where it's once every 4 months, that doesn't really count, right? In terms of that.
I would like to make a proposition. You know how Twitter's getting worse, like you have to pay for all this stuff and like your views are limited.
Yes.
I would like to request one thing of Elon. You have to pay $1 to request GPs back the way they were.
Oh, you have to pay every time you do it? Yeah,
every tweet you send that fits the vague request of like, I want Magic back the way it was X years ago, you have to pay $1 for that.
Yeah, you now owe $1. Yeah, it's like the jar.
Yep.
The problem is if you do that, Magic players are never really going to game it, and they're going to say things like, golly gee, I sure do miss doing cocaine in the hotel at the Valley Forge Casino and Resort, which is just a dog whistle for I wish GPs were the way they used to be. They're gonna game it.
Or they'll post pictures of Magic cards where they Photoshop the text to be something else entirely.
This is the one you ask Magic Twitter, what 2-year period was the golden age of Modern? Blind votes.
They're all going to say when Splinter Twin and Birthing Pod were legal because they just memory hold how miserable that format was.
No, you got to ask them the years, and they promise you they're not. Because that's the thing. everyone wants some, like, now Modern's fine or whatever, but we went through a lot of years where everyone wanted it to come back and to be like it used to be and be the way it was.
It's like asking MAGA people when America was great.
Yes, yep, exactly.
I also think that a lot of people... One of my favorite quotes about Modern and like just formats in general is, I don't care what they're going to ban tomorrow. We're all going to play the format same as before because we're all stupid little piggies. And I think more Magic players should realize that. Like, it doesn't matter if they ban your favorite card or unban a card or print some new shit. We're all just going to be on the convention center floor slopping it up.
We need our next hit. Yeah, we just need our next hit.
We have no standards. They unbanned Golgari Grave Troll and then banned it again, and we're just like, please, can we play some more Modern?
Yui's bringing back Standard. It's fine.
If you registered Oko in a tournament, you should have to wear a Scarlet Letter.
I have to wear a Scarlet Letter now.
Yeah, all 80% of the Pro Tour field or whatever. Actually, it was 69%, I remember now.
I remember playing my first event with Hogak, and like people were like, "Yeah, it's fine." I'm like, "You're out of your mind." Like, because I played against it and I was like, "This seems really good." And I tried it once. I was like, "This is the easiest tournament I've ever played in my life." Yeah, people the copium levels are just unreal.
The entire time Hogak was legal, I played every single like competitive level event with Jund, and I just played 4 ley lines in my sideboard for Hogak, and 4 Fulminator Mages for the Eldrazi Tron players who propped up to beat Hogak. And I represented a winning win percentage in that. Like, it wasn't that bad.
Impressive.
Hogak was fine. You just always start with the ley line, and you have the removal spell for their first thing, and then you also draw your Tarmogoyf, and it's fine.
I mean, wasn't Hogak legal in Barcelona at the last Modern Pro Tour?
Yeah.
Am I wrong about that?
I don't know if it was the last Modern Pro Tour, but it was.
No, it was the last Modern Pro Tour. The question is whether or not it was legal. Because you mentioned Tron earlier. But yeah, Torolf Severin won that Pro Tour with Tron. So if Hogak was legal.
Someone say Tron.
I'm almost certain it was.
Well, Tron is the reigning Modern Pro Tour champion. We go back now 4 years later. Four years later to Barcelona, 4 years and a pandemic later, we go back to Barcelona for another Modern Pro Tour, probably in the same blazing hot convention center.
I guess it's Cass. Have you seen my Tron lands? Because I think you've been around when I was playing Tron on tour.
We've played a couple of matches, I think, where you were playing Tron lands. You very quickly smoked me because I was playing some garbage, except for the one time I played Phoenix.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, it's some deck that just scoops to it, but. I have the same Tron lands I've had since, like, I think 1996. Or
They're gross.
Like that.
They're a little gross.
If you take them out of the sleeves, you can tell that, when we were kids, you would show up to school with your deck in a sandwich bag with a rubber band around it and no sleeves. So you can see on the back where it has been...
Who would do that to their cards?
Well,
play with them unsleeved.
Well, DJ famously has the 2023 version of that, the Gonti Commander deck. Where
that's I forgot about that for a second.
So,
but you can see the track lines on the back of my cards from being on concrete and stuff a ton. But they're still sleeve playable, and I absolutely love the fact that I've had these for the majority of my life.
I mean, look, this podcast is about getting value, and there's no more value than that, right?
Yeah.
Not only did you get them long ago when they were cheap, they have all that sweet nostalgic value attached to them now. Somebody top-8'd the regional championship in Europe a couple weeks ago with basic lands signed by their parents.
That's really cool, actually. Yeah.
Yeah, think about it. Magic's probably going to be in your life longer than your parents.
Oh my God! Don't say that.
Don't say that. That's dark.
That was why he did it.
This podcast just got dark.
I've always said that telling people their collections aren't worth as much as they think they are is like telling them their parents are dead.
Mm.
There's a lot of analogies there where it's like you gotta ease it in. You gotta do the doctor thing where you're like, you take the mask off and you do the little head shake and then you
you can't save everybody.
Yeah, the Shivan dragon. You see these white borders. You see the EKG chart. You see you gotta explain it to them like the borders. They're black.
One time I did have somebody bring in their parent who had died. Like their daughter brought in their Magic cards and knew nothing about them.
But you said they brought in like their dead parents. Did anybody else?
Oh yeah,
like a corpse.
They in their will they said, prop me up beside the F&M when I die. Yeah.
Weekend at Bernie's.
That's their way to signify who has the ring in like Lord of the Rings. They're like, this is my ring bearer, and they just like put the urn on top of the magic card. There you go.
You just salt bay some ashes on as a +1/+1 counter.
Oh god.
A piece of like real.
If you try to cast like Zombify.
I think we're going down a weird line here.
To bring this back to real Magic finance, I actually have a tangible piece of advice for buying for all of our listeners at home, which is when someone comes to you to sell you their collection represents all of the games they've played, all of the memories they have, all of the time they've spent collecting. It's not just about the dollars. So for them, it's one of the most important days of their Magic career, and for you as the buyer, it's just a Tuesday. You have to remember, though, for them, it's one of the most important days of their Magic career. So you have to give them the grace to have that space. I'm not saying let them waste your time, but like, recognize that like if you sit there trying to
a therapist for 5 minutes.
Yeah, you have to be chatty. Yeah,
well,
they're gonna want to tell you a story.
This entire job is just towing a fine line between coke dealer and therapist.
You're just like a glorified bartender, honestly.
Yeah, not even glorified. Like the bartender is the more glorified position here. Like
that's also harsh. I don't like it.
I mean, I was trying to say, like, you just, like, shouldn't pressure people, like, just kind of, like, let them have the space to sell their collection and, like, not feel like they have to sell it to you right away, let them think about things.
I like that better.
Yeah, I was trying to be wholesome with it and, like, talk about customer service.
Sure.
Which is so out of character for me, I understand. Normally I'm like, kids or whatever, but...
Especially the ones whose parents are dead. I mean, like, really, Batman, get over it.
I was gonna say, who actually has parents in comic book or like any of the storylines? Like anything, like Harry Potter, like Luke Skywalker, like anything in a comic book. It's like they have to have dead parents, right? Like I don't know. Someone established this in like 1930 when they were telling stories. They're like, okay, the protagonist, if they have to overcome something, what is it? And there's always the dude. We could have their parents die in some tragic accident, and then he's in every meeting.
Uncle.
Yeah, or their uncle.
Tannon.
But his parents are dead to begin with, and then now the uncle has to die.
Tannon, you solved that at the start of the sentence. In the 1930s. They were all dead. They were urchins. Everyone was a newsie. Everyone was like lying on the street in garbage and just pretending to be dead so they could get a nickel for their Hello Governor or whatever. Like,
notably, like, a lot of people died like 13 years prior to that-ish.
Sure. Also,
like, a lot of people died. The
average lifespan is significantly less. It's like one of the main reasons a lot of us have existential crisis or crises around this age. For myself, I'm a little bit older. I'm going to be 40 relatively soon, and like I'm like, what am I doing? Like what am I actually doing? And then someone was like, well, look, you're hardwired to not even be alive. The majority of humanity didn't make it to this time. So like literally, you're like, what am I supposed to do with my life now? And I'm probably going to live at least another 40 years. So like, I got to figure something out. I don't know. This got really dark.
Yeah, that was really deep. I'm not. I like magic cards. I don't know. I was like thinking. Don't try to make me think about what I'm doing while I'm chasing magic cards across the world, please.
Let's put an official stamp on it. Brainstorm Brewery, Jason Alt, Corbin Hostler, and Douglas Johnson approved. I'm not a part of this. Brainstorm Brewery, we are pro-orphan. We are anti-parents, pro-orphan.
Okay.
Oh, I thought you were going to say pro-euthanasia. So that, like, you cleared the bar from my
All right, just to clarify, though, like, I'm adopted. We are pro-orphan. I have the origin story in question.
There we go.
You're the superhero of the podcast, Corbin.
Everyone knows
I was going to go with affirmative action, but that works too.
I have the most episodes under my belt. Undisputed. Now, what we really should have done was keep a list back in episode 1. Now we're on, I don't even know. We stopped keeping count, frankly. I think maybe the editor keeps count on YouTube, but I don't even
like
bother to number the show notes anymore.
Clicked on the last episodes.
Yeah. So,
that's a lot, by the way.
It is. Yeah. It would be nice if we had a list of how many times everyone had been on at this point, right?
What, do you want a perfect attendance sticker?
No, like including guests,
He's like one of those kids at the end of high school that gets the perfect attendance award.
It would be cool to say, like, we've had 162 guests on Brainstorm Brewery over the years. Like, that's sort of, data's cool. It would have been cool.
I'm glad that it's taken this long and this many episodes to finally get to me. You've been, I guess, scraping the bottom of the barrel, and now we're like, oh, I guess we'll get, Tannon Grace.
You said it yourself. You aged like a fine wine. Like, you're at the point where you have matured enough to just reach your peak and be. We caught
waited
you at
for
the
the
high
best
point.
Tannon vintage.
Well, yeah, speaking of then, let's spend a few minutes on that while we have you on. People might have seen Tannon doing coverage at the some of the online events as well as the Dream Hacks. You've got Pro Tour experience. What are you up to these days in and around Magic and other gaming?
Well, like for gaming, mostly that people will recognize me from. It's mostly Flesh and Blood and Magic the Gathering right now, and it's mostly on the coverage end. I actually really enjoy it. It's my main job right now. I'm in a little bit of a lull period, so I'm very bored right now. But it's really funny. It's like it's almost like, tax season or whatever for people. You're like kind of bored for parts of the year, and then all of a sudden you're extremely busy. like for a 4-week period, I'll be, in a different city or a different time zone out of like 3 or 4 of those.
Yeah.
And then sometimes different countries, as well when it comes to that stuff. I still play a decent bit, not as much as I'd like. But like, let's be honest, when it becomes your job, sitting down to like grind Magic becomes less palatable. I really enjoy playing and stuff as well, but definitely play a lot less. I might have to pick up Commander at some point, but I'm very a big stickler for who I play with. Is a big thing for me.
If you go into the office on your day off, you are built different. I will say that.
Yeah. Also, it's go ahead.
If you're working in Magic and you have this pull to play Commander, but you, like many people who have standards for themselves, don't want to play Commander as much as most people, consider building a 2-person cube. Just play Heads Up Cube.
I'm gonna make a cube, and I always talk about this. I actually like the idea of Commander. Do you know the 2 things I dislike about Commander the most?
Is it other people?
The 3rd and 4th player and the commanders. It's like
Fair.
I love 100 card singleton formats. I think they're hilariously fun. The games are different. It's kind of like Cube. You get a differentish game all the time. But
Canadian Highlander might be right for
I love
you.
it.
Talk
I
to
love
your
Canadian.
doctor if.
Because
it's true, you would like Canadian Highlander. And
Highlander's
great.
great.
I'd play with
it's because like the 2 things that I dislike the most is like I don't like politics in my game of Magic, and I don't literally mean like left wing versus right wing. I mean like I don't want to have a game. I don't want to lose a game that I had no way to affect because player C and D made some kind of like.
If you can't like get into that battle, then Commander's just not for you.
Yeah, And then like the actual commanders themselves, if you build your deck even remotely correctly, just make every game the same for your deck, which I think defeats the purpose of having a 100 card singleton deck. Of like. The fact that your deck's going to be different, because like the reason we play 60 cards with 4 card limits is because like we want that to be as close to here's my curve, like here's what I'm trying to do every game, and then if something goes wrong, I figure it out from there. But Commander, it's like you have this 100 card deck, all these cool interactions and stuff, and it's just the same thing all the time, and then no one interacts with each other at all until the moment matters, and it's like, well, if you stop that, I'll do this, and I'm like, wait, what? You should just stop it anyway. They're gonna win.
Yeah, it depends.
I just don't get it.
Look, I've learned a lot of different things about Commander over the years. Is that there's like convention Commander, there's content creator Commander.
See, that I kind of like. That's
and then
fun.
there's like Commander with your friends, And the last of those I find pretty fun. Actually, the other 2 I'm kind of medium on.
Yeah, exactly. I actually kind of created a format for a little while at my LGS that we were all playing that was really fun, where we made 100 card singleton decks with modern legal cards. And we used the modern ban list, but we took some cards on and off. I was like, you can have Faithless Looting. Yeah, you can have Faithless Looting in your deck. Like, that's fine.
Sure.
But there's some cards where it's like, no Golgari Grave Troll. Like, we're not just going to build Dredge. like little things like that. And that was actually super fun. And stuff, because like, it was like,
those type of formats can be really enjoyable when you get the variation that you
want. With all that being said, I think Commander is the best thing to ever happen to Magic, ever.
Of course.
And it's been unbelievable for people's collections. Like, I had just stacks and stacks of cards that were worth literal nothing. Commander became popular, and all of a sudden I was a millionaire. Not literally. You know what I mean? Just all my bulk was all of a sudden, I was like, wait a minute, this is $50? Why is this Thieves auction $50? It used to be 5 cents, kind of thing. But
yeah. Well, you know what? While we're on the subject, it's time to break some bulk, because we invented it.
Breaking bulk time. Breaking bulk time. Break.
Oh, yeah, breaking bulk. There's so much good stuff.
It's a pick. Breaking bulk. The end.
And by that I mean we made. I think we were the first podcast to really make it a content pitch of like not just chase specs, but here's how to pull value out of the boxes in your house, and that is what Breaking Bulk is for. This is where we make each other guess some cards that commonly come to us in bulk when they shouldn't. And I'm gonna start. I don't know about this one for you all. This is a multicolored rare from Universes Beyond Warhammer 40.
F6.
I'm not trying to be tricky. I understand it's a bit of one. This is a PSA, if nothing else, because this has moved in the past week.
I'm just going to start naming phrases that could be...
Prime?
Blackcast?
Is it Tyranid Prime?
No.
The Evolve guy?
He who strikes the lightning. Is that a He who strikes the lightning?
It's a non-creature spell. And it's
Thunder Fury, Blessed Blade of the Burning Legion.
Yeah, like this. Let's just throw some.
Is it the Burning Legion? Wow, come on. All right, I'll just tell you.
I only know the clip from Hearthstone.
Henry Cavill. Wait, that's a deep one if anybody gets that one.
All right, listen. It's Birth of the Imperium. It's a saga, and it was 50 cents a couple weeks ago, and it's $3+ now because Tom Bombadil is making all of the sagas go up in price, including Kiora Best to Sea God is one that I think we talked about either here or in my TCG player article or in our Discord. I saw it somewhere. Has been moving as well over the past week. But Tom Bombadil has been huge for some of these. But yeah, Birth of the Imperium was a bulk rare. Now it's not.
Sure.
Actually, that whole thing, I have the box set of the foil commander decks like still unopened. Because I initially was going to buy a few of them, then resell them for profit. Just like I did the main problem that most people have who try to get into MTG finance, where you buy a bunch of stuff because you buy it low and and then you just never actually do anything with it.
Never sell.
Right, because seeing your trophy there is more important than number in bank account go up.
Yep.
Yeah, we can't talk about that with me on the show. Yeah, Cass gets it. We can't talk about Tannon trophies. Of course you have it in the background. I just noticed it. Of course you do. I will say this. Yes, you have that trophy. I beat you in that tournament, so I think that makes me the actual champion. And we have actual documented proof of that.
This is like when I split the finals of an SCG Open. So even though I then lost the match for the trophy, I get to say I'm co-champion of the Open.
Sure.
Tannon, you are co-champion of SCG Open Baltimore 2019.
Am I really?
Well, you're one of 4 people who's the champion of that event.
Because you split the top 4?
Well, no, but my team are the first 3, and then Tannon's the 4th.
Oh, sure. Sure. Okay, I'll take it. Was it really only 2019? I feel like it was 10 years ago.
It might have been 2018. I don't know.
God, mine's from...
It was 3 months before my divorce, so...
All right, Cass, DJ, which one of you wants to get in here next for Breaking Bolt?
I have an M19 white uncommon. It's a softball pitch.
Is it the Ajani's Welcome, like the 1 mana enchantment?
Yeah. Ajani's Welcome. It's a Soul Warden kind of, but yeah.
But harder to kill.
Harder to kill, doesn't work with their creatures, etc. But it's just it's a $2 uncommon, just a solid, just good find in bulk. It's one of those commander-ish cards where any sort of person who plays Magic solely for the competitive aspect is going to skim by these unless they look them up. And I've had plenty of players just hand me a 5-roam and be like, look, man, this is picked over. There are 0 Tarmogoyfs of Forest and Wills in there. Just give up now. And I'll be like, yeah, man.
Give up now.
Robot's hungry tonight.
Yeah, and then I sleep on a pillow of Vandal Blast and Sphere of Safeties.
What is Vandal Blast at now? Is it still like a $7 card or whatever?
It's 3 or 4.
Yeah. I remember when you couldn't find those cards are really funny. The ones that are like $3 or $4 or $5 here or there, and then you go to an actual event and they'll just be like $20. Actual events because people need them for their sideboard, and there's 10 in the entire room out of the 100 vendors.
Well, that and because I've talked about this before, but that is the only way those cards become profitable for the vendor. Mm-hmm. So if you want me to bring your $2 uncommons and spend 7,000 cards worth of $2 cards, then those cards will sell online if I don't bring them. So if I want to bring them, I need to be incentivized to do that by charging 4 or 5s.
I mean, I've got stories of I remember when Onslaught became legal and people needed Naturalize because the Rift deck came out. The Astral Slide deck came out and people needed Naturalize, and they were literally selling for like $15, and it's a common or whatever. And people were busting.
In Amsterdam is the other
There you
example.
go.
Yeah.
The go-to story I have for this, I'll keep it short because I've said it before recently, but somebody was looking for a cartouche of Solidarity for their
white one.
Boggles deck, yep.
the white
First strike,
cartouche for their event. They do a lap of the vendors, nobody has it. They do a lap of the vendors for Almond Kit sealed product, nobody has it. And then he comes back a couple hours later, he had gone to the LGS in the area, bought a box of Almond Kit and cracked it for his 4 cartouches, and he got
It's a common. Oh, he needed 4. Okay. It's a common. I don't know if you needed
it might have
to
been
pull
for
the
Boggles
trigger.
or something.
It was for the green, white, and Pioneer.
Know if you need to pull the trigger on a box.
This is before Pioneer was a thing. This is like 2017, 2018.
Sure.
Almond Kit was standard legal.
All right, Cass, you're up next. As usual, mine was unguessable, and DJ's was easy. So let's see where you come in.
Oath of the Gatewatch, colorless uncommon.
Warping Whale?
Yeah.
Springleaf Drum.
It was Warping Whale. Springleaf Drum is so not in that set.
What did you say? Gatewatch? What did you say? What's that?
Oath of the Gatewatch.
Where was your head?
That's Born of the Gods?
Born of the Gods.
Or Lorwyn?
It's a different second set.
Warping Whale's like a $1.50. Card's good, and I personally think that Modern Trom with the One Ring is pretty good, and I think that card's not that bad in that, so find your copies in your bulk, pick them out, sell them for $1 or $2. I believe it has a list reprint.
Yeah, let's say I think it has like one of the supplemental reprints. It
has 0 reprints.
What?
Really?
According to MTG
Whale?
stocks, there are 0 reprints of this card.
That is surprising to
MTG
me.
stocks is a good place to go because, as everyone knows, they are our generous sponsor with the best tools for Magic Finance on the internet, the premium side, the interest page, everything you need. We've been using MTG stocks for a decade. Their data goes back a decade on cards. That's the kind of power that no other site really has across the Magic internet, and that's why we love it. MTG Stocks sponsors this. So I don't know if you all heard, but the One Ring has been found, and collector boxes did not drop off a cliff price-wise. So,
Although they did. Aren't they down to like 150 or something? And they were up to like... Oh, I see. I thought they did. Wow.
No, collector booster boxes are still very pricey.
You're still trying to find like hundreds of these other serialized rings, right? Yeah.
Yep.
You're trying to find the serialized rings, and it's also just people that are very hungry for the IP.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah, I mean the set's really cool, right? Like it's got a lot of nostalgia. I think this is like a can't miss IP for you to put, in a Magic product because there's such crossover. Plus, I don't know if you've like drafted the set or played limited on it. It's actually pretty decent overall. Like I thought I wouldn't like it, and then the more I drafted, I actually had a lot of fun with it. I've probably done somewhere between like 50 and 70 drafts, and I've had a really good time overall in the set.
Yeah, it's like a perfect. Look, a couple years ago when they first started this, we were all memeing about how we were all gonna do such and such with Transformers versus Gandalf versus, and we were all memeing about all these things, and now of course it's reality. But
I will
also,
block your Gandalf with my Optimus Prime. Yeah. What?
But also, I don't care.
It's kind of dope.
Yeah,
like limited is. Yeah, go ahead.
Like the thing I always talk about is like Secret Lair is not for me, right? Like me personally, it's not for me. I like some of it, like blah blah. They're going to make one someday. They're gonna be like, "Yep, you got me." Like I'm buying 4 of those or whatever. Like it's perfect. Like they're gonna do like Marvel or something. They're gonna have Iron Man as a Magic card. I'm gonna be like, "Yep." Like the next Urza Planeswalker is gonna be Iron Man. Or whatever.
Once
I'm like, yeah,
Disney
you got
buys
me.
Hasbro.
Yeah, you get what I'm saying? Like they're gonna do something sometime, right? Or like, like they do something like my favorite band or something, or like my favorite TV show or something.
Wow.
Like
I've already gotten so spoiled. My favorite band and my favorite IP both already have Secret Lairs Universes Beyond.
So Mountain Goats, right?
Mountain Goats and Lord of the Rings. Yeah, like I'm
lucky.
living right now.
You're so lucky.
Well, Doctor Who's coming out later this year, and that's huge for people.
What would be like the Fall Out Boy Magic card? Because that's like my favorite band of all time. Like, what would their like Magic cards be? And like that, the names would be extremely long. Like every Magic name would have to be like what's
Forging the Tyrite Sword.
Names from their new song.
It goes like around the card. You know what I'm talking about? Like it goes up and down.
Our market research shows that players like very long card name something.
It'd be like
made this the longest card name ever. Elemental, I think, is the full name of the card.
I think Jurassic World crossover is probably the next one that would.
Oh, the next
really
Ixalan set. If we ever go back there, I can see that.
That would actually be kind of sick.
The next, we're going back to Ixalan in like 6 months. So
I will block your Optimus Prime with my Chris Pratt. And he's just on every card because he can do everything.
The point is, it's all dumb and silly. But you know what? It works, and this set is really popular. And things are selling out, and it's not just the one ring driving it. Because, as you probably saw literally everywhere across the internet, it was found by somebody in Canada. It was authenticated by PSA. I guess they didn't want that authentic.
The Titus Lutner one-of-one playmat.
Yeah, the big special experience.
Plus
and
4 booster boxes.
Yeah, dude, think about the booster boxes.
Wait, are you talking about the New Zealand trip?
No, this is the BGS thing. This is a separate thing.
So I have a friend who lives in New Zealand, and he owns a grading company. He actually works with he worked with Channel Fireball. I don't know what the thing is with that.
Shout out, give him a shout out. Give him a real shout out.
His name is his name is Matt Rogers, right? He's one of the best Flesh and Blood players of all time, but he does this stuff. And his offer was actually really cool because it's the greatest marketing tool of all time to be able to do this. Is if you found the One Ring and you let his company grade it, he would fly you to New Zealand, right? Let you stay for weeks or whatever, and then he would put you through the full Lord of the Rings experience there, send you to all the sets, go see all your Hobbiton, everything. Yeah. So you become a ring bearer. You get to bring the ring to
right. But was he giving four?
I'm sure.
Count them. 4 boxes of Magic the Gathering upcoming releases.
Sure. I'm sure if you asked for more, he would give it to you because it's the best marketing ever that his name is just his company's name is just on the One Ring for all time. Because here's the other thing. I know I've seen you do this, Cass. Would you crack that if you had the opportunity? Would you crack the One Ring out of a case?
If I had the One Ring in my possession in a graded case, my goal would be to give it to somebody as quickly as possible who will pay me an amount of money for it so I never have to think about it again.
Yeah, there you go.
It is just a colossal burden to the One Ring is a €2 million bearer bond.
This is so thematic, by the way.
Mm-hmm. Bearer bonds are illegal for a lot of reasons, and one of them is that people will murder you for them very easily.
Yeah.
So
I don't like carrying around expensive. My box of I have 12 commander decks. My box of commander decks is some number of 5 figures, right? I don't feel good carrying it around. I don't like taking decks to events anymore.
That's the best part about doing coverage now, by the way, for events. I no longer travel with Magic cards.
You just show up to work and you do some drafts.
I usually bring an empty box with me just in case, because you always accrue some when you go to an event.
You want to have we used to have great coverage drafts back in the day. Mm-hmm. Everyone just is old and does their own thing these days. But
we all go to sleep at 10 p.m. now.
I know, man. We used to coverage draft till 2, 3, 4 a.m. and I come home with a haul. I come home with a haul of the newest set from the Pro Tour. It was a legitimate perk.
I tried one time to do coverage semi hungover. I was a little responsible about my drinking. But I tried one time and I'm never again. It's miserable.
Yep. All right, let's that's where things are at with Lord of the Rings anyway. It's been found. People still like the set anyway. This was the greatest marketing tool that Wizards has ever done.
Yeah.
Will they ever do it again? Because in their shareholder meetings, somebody in a suit who's never read Lord of the Rings, he's never watched the movies, and he's like, "This was good. Do it again.
Make a one-of-one sonic screwdriver."
That's a realistic
Mark Rosewater posted a Tumblr recently that said, "Do you want more individualized one-of-one serial cards?" And the public backlash seems to have been a hard no, that it fit this thematically, but to use that very sparingly, if at all, ever again.
Yeah, if they do Marvel, are we going to get the 5 Infinity Stones? 5.
That would be sick as fuck, though.
Yeah, because here's the thing. They're extremely expensive, but who gets all 5? Can you see Post Malone coming out this concert with the fucking Infinity Gauntlet on, and he's just got the 5?
Holy shit, that would be amazing.
That'd be dope.
There's going to be 4 Brainstorms in the world. Is someone going to get 4?
You have the Yu-Gi-Oh arm thing with the cards
on them.
It's called a dual disc,
you uncultured swine.
Okay. You have your Yu-Gi-Oh disc
I don't know
with
that
the
either.
with the Infinity Gauntlet Magic cards on it, that would be amazing.
No, but
Yeah,
Did
like
you know Post Malone plays Magic? He might do it.
Yeah, it's the brainstorm thing is a really good analogy. Actually, I think that's
Yeah.
awesome.
well, think about it, right? Like, I don't want to go too deep into it to blow up anybody's spot, but like, I imagine the first one's going to sell for less than the second one, and the third one's going to sell for even more than that, and the last one, if you have 3 and someone has the fourth one, they get to tell you find another one.
Yeah,
Like, how much does the fourth brainstorm cost?
yeah. It's like pay me. Like, yeah, right.
Yeah, like I don't know, $100,000, $200,000. Like, you're not going to say no, little piggy.
Yeah, at that point when you need the fourth, like, yeah, I would just post about it every day. Oh, like if we had a social media thing that we could all go to and look at all the time, that worked.
True.
You
know?
can just,
Yeah.
I mean, you can just turn into a James Bond if you want at that point. Strap the card to a table and just point a laser slowly at it as the number goes up.
I mean, think
The
about
man
it,
just
right?
went up,
Like,
bitch.
at what point does it become more cost effective to stage a heist, to steal the card, than to actually purchase it?
Make a documentary out of that too.
Got
Yeah,
you
this
thinking
sounds
about
like
it.
this sounds like some movie. It's like we need Mark Wahlberg and a couple other people to go after this.
Paul Rudd.
Speaking of
Who's
Catholics,
the Spider-Man actor? Him too.
This is an Ant-Man movie for sure.
Yeah.
I got a fun little Tolkien anecdote before we move on from Lord of the Rings. Speaking of Catholics, Tolkien was super Catholic. That's one of his big things. And he was good friends with C.S. Lewis, the author of Chronicles of Narnia. And the story that they flipped a coin to see who wrote which one, that's a lie. That's not real. That's a total fabrication. However, at one point, C.S. Lewis was like, I think I might be an atheist. And Tolkien was like, no, you can't do it. You gotta go to church. You gotta find God. And C.S. Lewis goes to the church a bunch and then becomes an Anglican, the religious group directly opposed to the Catholics. So there's just like a real like find out moment that happened between those two. Fun piece of literary history.
So I knew like the first 2/3 of that, and the last was a complete surprise to me.
I'd never heard of that. Cass, I know you're super into Lord of the Rings. So you might like this. I actually like one of the coolest like collectible things that I own besides like, Magic paraphernalia, right? I have some cool sports stuff, but like I know y'all probably aren't into that very much. One of the cooler things that I own is I was a big reader growing up, right? I don't do it as much now, but I like super into like the Universe Beyond, like or not Universe Beyond, that's the extended universe for like Star Wars. Like remember when you go to like Barnes and Noble, they had that whole wall. I read like every one of those, like, was super into sci-fi, super into fantasy, obviously got super into Lord of the Rings, Dune, all those things. It's not a first edition, but I have a second edition copy of Fellowship of the Ring.
Oh, that's sick.
And like hardback, and it's a little beat up, but it's from like the 40s or something like that. The book's like twice my age, right? And it is like one of my prized possessions that I've like kept as like a collectible because that's my favorite movie out of all of them. That's my favorite book out of all of them. Besides, I like The Hobbit better as a book because I do think that the Lord of the Rings books are they're dense.
Hobbit's better book.
Yeah, it's the complete opposite for the movies, obviously, but
it's The Hobbit was made for his son, wasn't it? And then
I think so. Yeah.
It was originally began as like an oral story, and he started writing it down because he was.
I do think there was an actual college here in my state because I'm back in Louisiana. I do think there was a college here for a while that was actually offering Elvish as a takeable course for a while because Tolkien was a linguist and like actively made the language that the elves speak, and then he was like, I need a conduit for this, and then Lord of the Rings happened. He's like, I'll write these books.
Yeah.
So,
it was actually really cool. If you look at the languages he wrote, you can find the parallels to real languages. Like all the Dwarven scripts are super based on like some combination of Arabic and Sanskrit, from what I remember.
Brainstorm Brewery is brought to you by Manscaped, the best in below-the-waist grooming. Their products are precision-engineered tools for the family jewels. The Performance Package is the ultimate hygiene bundle. Join over 8 million people worldwide who trust Manscaped with this exclusive offer. We have 20% and free worldwide shipping if you use the code BSB. You'll get the Performance Package 4.0. It's really a game changer. Inside the package, you'll find the Lawnmower 4.0 trimmer, the Weed Whacker ear and nose hair trimmer, the Crop Preserver and Crop Reviver, as well as in a gift of performance boxer briefs and a travel bag. This is everything you need if you are traveling and want to take care of yourself just a little bit better than maybe you have in the past. Manscaped has all of the tools for you. Join over 8 million people worldwide who trust Manscaped with this exclusive offer. We have 20% and free worldwide shipping if you use the code BSB.
Which is like, I mean, I don't know anything about the details of it, but like I've, seen posts about it, and it's just such a cool story, such a cool world, and it's super cool to see it in Magic, and it's also really cool to see the One Ring kind of dominating Modern.
I gotta say, does this set feel like Modern Masters like 2.5 to you?
No, it's like 3 good cards though.
Yeah, but like that's what Modern Masters felt to me. Is like, they'd have a few other fringe cards, right? But then they'd have like 2 or 3. You're like, this warps the format, right? Because you have the One Ring. I think Delighted Halfling is going to be like very good. And then you have a couple other cards like showing up in Legacy and stuff as well. Like, what is it, 4th Aeolingus or whatever? What's it called?
Yeah.
4th Aeolingus.
I'll say I don't see Delighted Halfling being too egregious. It's just like
I don't think egregious. I think it's good. Yeah,
it's just like a playable mana dork, right? Like Birds of Paradise didn't become less bad because making an additional mana was bad. It just got bolted. It just got Ren 6th, right?
Yeah, I think it's
Halfling's a 1/2.
Halfling playing Teferi on 2 is like a very powerful line. Halfling making your Omnath uncounterable on 3.
There you go.
Like that is a concerning play pattern to me. And like I've seen people playing like Yorion Zenithless and Legacy that just play 4 Halflings. Can you imagine uncounterable Yorion flicker my 4 things? Like you're dead.
That's also my favorite. I think that might be my favorite shell right now for the One Ring in Modern is like play Omnath, play a land, right?
Yep.
Like, okay, draw the card off Omnath, play a land, gain 4 life, crack my fetch land, get 4 mana, play the One Ring. I'm free of everything. Like, draw another card, go. Like, what? How are you even in this game? Like, you're dead.
You have to like living in them or whatever.
Here's the thing. I would think it would be awesome if they wanted to ban the One Ring. Instead of banning it, let's get the only card that is ever going to be restricted in Modern. Because it's so thematic.
That's what I was going to chime in with, is it's very, very surprising to me that this card was not designed in mind
you can only play one? Yeah.
As like an opposite of Relentless Rats or Rat Colony. Like, how is a valid thematic play pattern for this card to get rid of the counters by playing another one?
Because you were deceived. Because you were deceived.
I'm going to put this out there, and I don't know the validity of this. This set has some of the hallmarks of sets that were not given a lot of time in development.
I'm going to backpack to this. I don't think any set is given enough time in development anymore.
I mean, that's probably true, like almost certainly, but like the limited format is imbalanced color-wise.
That's going to be fun for the Pro Tour, by the way. I'm very interested to see what all goes on with this.
If no one's touching green-white, can it be good?
If you show me, that's the other thing. It's like, if you're the only, because I say green is like unplayable in the format. It's like if you 3-0 your pod and you've got green in your deck, like you need to be investigated. Like,
between that and the fact that the One Ring is dominant is probably, and like it also, I don't know, isn't designed to be a thing where it's like super flavorful to be a 1, right?
Mm-hmm.
So like how do the counters not just go on the player?
Yeah, maybe they should go on the player.
The burden is with the ring.
Yeah, sure.
If you lose the ring, you lose the burden.
That's a good point. That is a good point. Does the stain of the ring stay on you though? Like
that's the thing.
Like golf. Like, if he gets the ring back, it doesn't start from 0, right?
I mean, like, if the ring domes you for now, the stain is the damage you took along the way, right?
Sure. Okay. I can see both sides. I can definitely see both sides here.
But Corbin, I ask you the following question, which is, if you're someone at WotC developing the card The One Ring, isn't the best possible outcome of your work the One Ring wins Pro Tour Lord of the Rings? Like, that's like the goal, right?
And then you ban it.
And then you ban it, yeah.
And then you ban it.
Yeah. Because
I might argue that those incentives are poor, and it's why we've actually directly seen the base of the set needs to be really good if philosophy lead to banned cards that have ruined formats. And they've admitted that. So that, I mean, you're right. But like that in itself is like maybe a danger to the design process.
Are you saying a culture entirely built around stroking shareholders got negative incentives? Are you saying that's like a bad thing?
It is possible that there are some incentives here that are not necessarily aligned with integrity of competitive Magic.
I don't know about that.
I'm
No one's
gonna,
ever done bad things for money.
I'm gonna let this sink into your mind real quick too, as well. WotC doesn't care about competitive Magic as much as they used to, and as long as it doesn't implode, they don't care. Like, because we joked about this before the show started about like, we're still playing Modern now when years and years and years ago, like it was unplayable. We've had to ban a bunch of stuff. What was it you talked about? They unbanned Golgari Grave Troll and then rebanned it. And so we're still we take one more Modern tournament, please, like directly into my veins, please, like give me my next hit. Like we're still gonna be there.
Yeah.
The people that are attached are no one ever quits, kind of stuff. And I try not to be the old man yelling at clouds or yelling at kids, back in my day. But like for me, the height of like constructed Magic and stuff was a long time ago. Except when it comes to like coverage and the formats being a little better and stuff like that. But I'm not saying we can't get there again. It's just there's so much going on now, with all the points that you just made. And like you can't have everything be balanced as well. It's just like I think it's impossible nowadays. And then I do actually think Cass is 100% right. I think the ideal outcome of this Pro Tour is the person winning the Pro Tour literally has the One Ring in play and is killing them.
It is. Yeah. One last note here. I'm going to read this. We were talking about Wizards not caring about competitive play as much as
I think they do. No. I think they do. I wasn't saying like they don't at all. It's just not what it was, 15 years ago where it was like,
Well, listen.
Commander's so much.
I've opened up Magic Arena.
Sure.
There's an announcement. It's almost time for MagicCon Barcelona. Join us from July 28th to 30 for a weekend of Magic. Attendees can see cosplay, meet special guests like Mark Rosewater and Gavin Verhey, artists like John Avon, shop merch and products, enjoy panels and events on the main stage. We've even convinced Jimmy Wong and Josh Lee Kwai to bring game nights live overseas. But that's not all. There's a wide variety of play events available, suited for everyone. Limited Open, Secret Lair Showdown, Commander Masters, Draft, Two-Headed Giant, on-demand events, and more. Not to mention the Command Zone and free play areas. Anyone hear the Pro Tour mentioned in there?
No. Oh, that's true. Never even to the Pro Tour. Holy crap. I will say this. I used to complain until I was red in the face that this wasn't happening on Arena. And that there wasn't just a goddamn link. When you open up Arena, you're like, oh, this is going on. Click, and then like Twitch pops up on your internet browser or whatever, right? Like, how is that not a thing? How are you not just like selling this to holy hell? And like, I get it. They don't care about that as much anymore.
Somebody wrote up this announcement and didn't even...
I think it's hilarious.
Didn't even make it into the and more or the not to mention, like the free play area got higher billing than the Pro Tour.
Well, like, how do you advertise
Pro Tour
that?
included.
How do you advertise an event to somebody that can't pay to get into it?
Yeah.
Like,
because like watching it is a thing. They set it up to watch. Like it takes
but
over.
It's not
like
a thing
it's on
anymore.
No, it is. It's on the main stage at MagicCon.
No, I understand
Sunday.
that there is a Twitch account streaming out, but I'm saying it's not a thing.
On Sunday at MagicCon, the main stage is taken over by the Pro Tour stream, and they have a live host doing crowd work for the entire top 8. Like it is the main host the main stage attraction on Sunday, the way that game nights is on Saturday, if I've explained that correctly. Like it's what they're using their main stage for.
I think if that was true, it would be in.
No, it is true.
It is
like, it's not in the text that you just read, though.
Okay, like I'm telling, that's what happened in Minneapolis, though.
Yeah,
like, that's.
I understand
that's
that.
We're not arguing about the factuality of this thing existing. We're talking about it mattering.
Yes.
Yeah, like I'm trying to tell you, it does exist.
I know.
Like, it's what they
We
did.
know that it exists.
One of the things
It just
about
doesn't
this, I think, is the fact that, I think MagicCons are amazing, by the way. Anyone who saw me tweet about this, I went to Minneapolis as my first one. I was floored by the sheer size of this thing. I was not, because in my mind, I was going to a Pro Tour, and you're in this one room and whatever. And, I get to go backstage, unlike a lot of the people there, since I'm doing coverage. And there's, 40, Corbin, you got to see this. There's 40 people back there with 15, 20 different stations. It's it's crazy back there. It's chaos, but it's controlled chaos covering this entire thing. The coverage is insane now, right? Like you have almost no downtime whatsoever, constant Magic all the time, or analysis or whatever, right? It's just go, 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 go. The show is amazing to watch. Here's the thing, though. It's amazing to me to think that MagicCons nowadays are probably actual profitable things for WotC, where in the past it was a pure money sink. Like, they made no money directly off of a Pro Tour. Nowadays, they probably come out ahead at these events. And that's why you probably see it get buried in the billing, because all the other stuff actually makes WotC money, right? It actually makes
That's also
Hasbro
reasonable.
money.
Reasonable.
Because I'll say this. If you've been iffy, if anyone listening has been iffy about going to one of these things, like if you've even remotely been like, I want, maybe I should go. I had, in the 5 minutes a day that I had free time, Corbin remembers this, I was working my ass off. In the 5 minutes of the day that I had free time, I went and walked the other area. It was amazing. Also, the people there are extremely happy to be there. It's not the same feeling like, Cass, you and I used to go to opens all the time, and you kind of have that like existential dread from all the players, because they're like, this is the 15th different city I've been in the last, 20 weeks. And
everybody paid to be at MagicCon.
Yeah.
And you don't think it matters until you're there. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think
we ended up in Columbus on the SCG tour.
Well, don't forget, we go to some really random cities too, where the possibilities are endless.
Syracuse is not a city; it's more of an institution.
Sure.
Did you know that's the city I'm in?
I did not. Wow. Okay.
Yep, that's
all I remember about your city is possibilities or whatever.
Yeah.
They got Dino Barbecue too.
If we have anything, we have restaurant pun names are S tier.
Also, just getting there was a nightmare. Getting there from anywhere in the country is impossible as well. If you can't drive,
I mean, if you're on the East Coast, 81 is fine.
I live in the middle of nowhere, so me getting anywhere is difficult. But I at least have a decent airport near me. But yeah, can't say enough how awesome these are. And if I'm not working Vegas, which I don't know yet, if I'm not working Vegas, I'm going. As an actual fan, I'll play in the 100K or whatever it was, whatever the big event is. It's 100K, right? Yeah, I'll play in that. The Grand Prix.
There were a lot of people's opinions on these events were formulated on Vegas being the first one, which was thrown together at the last minute with sticks and glue. Philly, which had its own menagerie of problems, but they have iterated on each one.
Mm-hmm.
And
they have gotten better. Yeah.
I think that one of the biggest gripes was these need to be more affordable to go into, and I do think that you should have to pay to get into them. But they have been very good about scaling the level of package you can buy, whereas the first couple, it's like, you have 4 options. The cheapest one starts at $150 or whatever. Minneapolis, I believe, had a $30 badge, and they have been very good about, now you have these 8 or 9 options. Pick which one is good for you, and then formulate your own convention experience based on that.
Yeah, I think that's a really great point. And I'll tell you this. So again, we get a little different perspective than most people, right? Like when I go to these, I'm usually working and I'm actually talking to a lot of people that are running the damn event, right? I was directly talking to WotC employees. I'm not going to name specific names just in case, right? But they talked to me about exactly what you were saying. They were like, when we did Vegas, right? We made a lot of mistakes. Same thing with Philly. Here's the biggest thing. We've learned from them every single time, and we're fixing what we can. And I think that's something that WotC doesn't get enough credit for, because we like to on WotC a lot, right? And a lot of the reasons I say this is a lot of the times when you're complaining about WotC, you really should replace the word WotC with Hasbro, because it's probably some directive from a CEO that's never played a game of Magic in their life. They're like, hey, we need more profits. And so WotC is getting squeezed into doing something they might not even necessarily want to do, but they're doing to make more money, right? And they've at least listened to where some of the problems are and have made actual noticeable improvements in a lot of the spots. And this is not me drinking the Kool-Aid, because I work for them sometimes. I have been, negative on some of their stuff in the past and called them out for things that they've done. But you've also got to call it the good stuff. And I think overall, these have been an amazing experience, run really well, and they've improved at every one of them. And I can't stress that enough, that I think everyone should go to these at least once if you're a Magic fan. I wish we had a Lord of the Rings one in America. Is the one in Vegas is a
or
set,
in
right?
New Zealand?
Well, dude, getting there is impossible. By the way.
Okay, Australia.
Dude, do you know how long that flight is? I've looked into it.
They did it before.
I don't know, Tannon. Is it farther than Syracuse?
Syracuse.
I would rather go to
terrible.
Yeah, it's easier to get to New Zealand than it is to get to Syracuse.
I will say this: New Zealand I probably feel more at home in New Zealand than I will in freaking
You'll
Syracuse.
feel better when you get there. That's for sure. Yeah. All right. Well, before we get out of here this week, let's Do some pick of the week.
Pick of the week, pick of the week, pick of the week. Time for the pick of the week.
I'll start things off with keeping it Lord of the Rings themed here, because this card has started to rise and is basically just the best of the bunch when it comes to Commander, I think, and that is Call of the Ring. It is the 2-mana enchantment. At the beginning of your upkeep, the ring tempts you. Whenever you choose a creature as your ring bearer, you can pay 2 life and draw a card. So this card is about $6 right now. It had dipped down below, well below that. It's been coming up, but I think this is the one that probably has the best shot in terms of Commander. Because of the repeatable, you slam it on turn 2, it tempts you every turn, so you're going to hit your 4th tier very quickly, and then you can, it's like a weird little Phyrexian Arena type card.
Sure.
I think the card's great. I remember seeing it and being pretty impressed with it initially, and I'm sure that it being so cheap is like a huge factor in it.
It's innocuous too, right? It's like one of those cards that's in play, and people don't get how good it is until the game's over, and they're like, oh.
Well, and it's like, even if your deck, you don't have to go deep on Lord of the Rings theme or the ring tempts you thing. You just play Call of the Ring, and it makes all of your things better for the rest of the game.
And it makes some of your creatures unblockable randomly too, which is great.
Any black-based creature deck can likely do something, right? And it's an enchantment, it's hard to remove, etc. So yeah, just a good piece from the set. All right. DJ, would you like to chime in next? What are you looking at?
I am looking at another card based on the spider from Lord of the Rings. I'm looking at Swarmyard, the land.
Ooh.
This is a card originally put in Time Spiral. It's gotten a secret lair for squirrels, and then it's also Time Spiral Remastered. Not a ton of reprints, hovering at around $9 or $10 right now. Supply on this is not super high, and it will go into every single one of those spider commander decks. It also has the other 2 just niche-ish, but still sort of cult-following tribals of squirrels and rats.
Mm-hmm.
Insects, too, I think?
It is insect, rat, spider, squirrel. Actually, kind of popular popular creature types outside of, maybe insect.
And insect has been dabbled with Grist. Mm-hmm. I'm sure it'll get more, but it's just one of those cards that supply will continue to... I mean, before Time Spiral Remastered, this was like a $40 card. It was It was very silly, and I think it can easily just sit at around 18, 19, and those same players who are paying 10 will continue to pay 20.
Yeah.
All right, Cass, what are you looking at?
This week I have picked Omnath, Locus of Creation, the 4-color one.
Ooh, okay.
As we talked about earlier, it is maybe the best card in Modern to combo with the One Ring. It being 4 mana and the ring being 4 mana is a little tricky, but like Tannon said earlier, you play Omnath, you play a fetch land, you gain 4 life, you crack the fetch land, you play the ring, you take 3 damage from the ring whenever a couple turns, and Omnath just gains it right back. You draw cards, you make mana, you gain life, you can't lose the game.
Yeah.
Omnath's around like $8 to $10, and I know that there's like a metric just load of Zendikar Rising, but card's a mythic, and it is very good.
I want altered One Rings that have like Cheeto stains on them because he's been wearing the ring.
Nice. All right, Tannon, we'll give you the honors as the guest, the last pick of the week.
All right.
What do you think is prime to see more player go up in price?
So mine doesn't have any Lord of the Rings kind of theme going on here, but this is a card that I'm kind of putting my money where my mouth is because I've actually bought a bunch of copies of this as well. And this is kind of a little one for a little bit of the future because you said this earlier. Huey's making standard great again, right? It's gonna be back. Yeah, it's just Chandra Hope's Beacon. It's a mythic from March of the Machine. I'm looking at TCG Player right now, and they've got 278 of them under $5 for a mythic planeswalker that's going to be good. The biggest thing here is if decks start playing more than one, they start playing 2 or 3 or 4. And I do think it's going to start showing up in Pioneer. I think it's going to start showing up in Standard when both of those formats are more relevant, right? Because right now we're at a Modern Pro Tour. But when next year rolls around and we start seeing Standard stuff, there's a very good chance that this is one of the best finishers in Standard and one of the most powerful cards in Standard. And when that happens, this card will go from $5 to 20 or 30, if not more, very quickly. And I know a friend who is hoarding them right now, has like hundreds of copies of them. Because I think this card is primed to just jump.
This was a big key innovation in the most successful Rakdos deck at the Standard Pro Tour, was the burn variant, where they just swapped out a couple cards. You had your Rakdos deck that still looked the same, except now it can just go upstairs and burn people out, and Chandra was a big part of that. So this card as a mythic is certainly the potential to take over. Now at 6 mana, it's probably not more than a 2-of in a deck. But you're right.
I can see the right deck having
$5.
Yeah, I can see the right deck maybe having like 3, because the problem, the best thing about it is you can play it and get 2 mana off of it right away, and there's so many good things to do with that 2 mana, like, hey, kill your thing, or do something to draw cards, like some instant or sorcery that you can play afterwards and get a ton of value off it, because it then goes up to 7 loyalty. You copy that spell right away. It is so hard for you to not get enough value and have it survive the turn that I think this. I remember reading this card the first time at the pre-release and being like, this is insane, right? Like, this card's so good.
It's got so much loyalty.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. All right. Well, on that note, I think that wraps it up for us. Remember, everybody, go check out our sponsors, MTG Stocks and Coalesce Apparel and Design, the best place across the internet for all of your Magic apparel needs. You can see DJ rocking the Ristic Study shirt there. Also got the BSB stuff you can acquire using the gift code Brainstorm Brewery. Get a discount. You can use that gift code towards our merch or the merch of anyone else on the site. So please go check it out. Coalesce Apparel and Design. All right. Well, Tannon, thank you again for joining us. Tell people, where can they find you across the internet, and are you at any events coming up? I think you mentioned Vegas in a few months, and people might be able to catch you there.
Sure. You can find me in the defunct Twitter site, as usually. We're like, I'm at the Tannon Grace on there.
What does your headstone read on Twitter? Like, what?
Known for finishing second place, probably, or something like that. It's for if you've been around long enough, that's the running joke.
First runner-up.
You could be known for worse things than that, I guess. As for events coming up, I don't have a ton of stuff like set, other than I will be in Atlanta for the DreamHack, because I do all the DreamHack events. I usually do all the arena championships online. I will be doing, I think, the next mocks, if I remember correctly. I know this is a pure tease, but it hasn't been officially announced yet. There is a possible series coming out that I'm going to be helping do on YouTube later in probably like the next month or two. Hopefully we're in the last stages of getting it done, and something that'll be a Magic related thing that I'm like pretty excited about, and that I'll be actually getting back in the booth for, which I haven't done in quite a while. Like, I'll actually get to do like play-by-play and like, color commentary. I've been doing more of the interview stuff lately. And then I assume that I'm going to be doing the Flesh and Blood events that are for the rest of the year. They're a little in the backlog for their stuff, but that's where the stuff you should see me. And as I said, for the I still call them Pro Tours, the MagicCon that's going to be going on in Las Vegas. I'm like 99% to be there, whether I'm working or not. Maybe I'll try to compete. I don't know. We'll see. It's been a while.
Well, look, I gave up on the Pro Tour to do coverage and never looked back. So
it was a smart decision.
Lifestyle.
Yeah, it was a smart decision on my part as well, because getting paid at every event you go to is quite nice.
Cash, right?
And I actually really, really enjoy the work. I hope it comes through whenever I'm doing something. If anybody's actually seen any of my work, I try to be very energetic and like happy about it, and like have that convey across the show and get the best I can out of the people that I'm working with, because legitimately I'm having a great time every time I do one of those things, and I have just a ton of fun because I live in rural Louisiana. I don't have a lot of like-minded people around me on average a day. So when I go to these events, you might notice I'm usually very bubbly, very energetic. I'm not always like that, but it's just I get so excited being around just a bunch of me. Just a bunch of people who are genuinely happy to be there, that it just comes out, and I can't help it, and I love it. And I miss all of you, and can't wait to see all of you all at the next events.
Love it. Well, thanks again for coming on, Tannon. Everyone, thank you for listening to Brainstorm Brewery. Thank you for our sponsors. Thank you to our patrons who support us and make all of this possible at patreon.com/BSB. Thank you for listening, everybody. We'll see you next week.
Stay hydrated, everybody.